started today lying lengthwise on your roller. And if you have a shorter foam roller, bear with me, I'm gonna offer that modification in just a moment. So we'll take the roller lengthwise on your mat. And I think the easiest way to get on is to sit your bottom on the very end of the roller so that you know you have room for your back. Bring your hands to the floor and lower yourself down. I am gonna just quickly, I'm hearing a little bit of background noise, put everyone on mute, just so you guys get the best sound quality. Okay, so once you are lying down onto the roller, you can just find your center here. If you have a shorter foam roller, make sure that the roller is at least under your head and your shoulders. So from there, you can either put some pillows under your hips or just hold your hips into a gentle bridge and allow your spine to rest down. The more narrow your feet are here, the harder the balance is going to be. So feel free to challenge yourself if you would like, or if you feel pretty wobbly here, widen your feet. And we're going to start just taking a gentle stretch across the chest by allowing the arms to float open out to the side. Now, often in this position, you'll feel that your rib cage wants to lift off the mat. I want you guys to think not necessarily smushing your low back into the mat, but pressing your rib cage down into the mat. And that's what we would consider a neutral spine position. So if you can imagine the natural curve of your low back, it's okay here to leave that natural curve at your very low back, but your upper back should not have that same curve. So you should feel your upper back on the roller beneath you. And as you set up in that position, it will probably give you a deeper stretch across the front of your chest. So just hang out like this for a moment, focus on your breathing. Think of taking your breath from the low part of your ribs and your belly, and releasing the air from the low part of your ribs and belly as well with your exhale breath. See if you can add a gentle tuck to your chin to lengthen the back of your neck. So all this setup of how your neck is set up, how your mid back is set up, can influence how your lower back feels. And we want to position ourselves in the most optimal way here to get a nice release from our low back. We'll try 2 more big breaths here before we add in a little bit of movement. And one more time like this, releasing all the air out from the bottom part of your lungs. And then you're going to walk your feet in, if they are wide, to a parallel hip distance alignment. So the distance your feet might be if they fall right underneath your hips when you're standing. From there, see if you can just reach your arms up to the ceiling. Right away, you might notice, wow, I have a lot more weight on my right side than my left, or vice versa. See if you can even that out. And that's sometimes a little clue or indicator of how you may be overusing one side of your body. Now, this alone is some strengthening for your core, and you can probably feel that here as you try and find steadiness on the roller. So you can choose to just stay here, but if you'd like to try and challenge your balance, drop one arm out to the side, bring it back through the center, and then the other. The trick here is to move just your arm. So your spine is not rolling on the roller, your knees are not tipping from side to side, your back is not lifting away from the roller, you're keeping stillness through everything except your arms. I would recommend exhaling as you reach sideways, inhaling through the center. Exhale as you reach sideways, inhale through the center. So this here is a core exercise. This is different than a sit-up or a crunch. This is a core exercise that challenges our core by keeping it still. So very similar to the way a plank might work our core. One more time here. Good. Now bring the tips of your fingers to the floor. My arm's not on the floor, just the tippity tips of the fingers, and hold here. We're going to do the same kind of thing, but with our legs now. So this time, keep your upper body still, march your right leg off the floor, place it back down, and your left leg off the floor, place it back down. So you're alternating from side to side here, trying to keep your back as still on the roller as you can. And you might feel, again, it's much harder to lift one side than the other, or you feel your body compensate by rolling to one side as you go to lift the leg. If you're someone who's feeling really confident, like, yeah, this is easy, I've got this, lift your hands, same thing. So keep yourself steady on the roller. See if you can march from side to side. This one is tricky. I have to go slow here, using my exhale breath to help deepen the core connection as I march from side to side. Good, we'll do 2 more. And last time, good. And then allow the arms to open. This time you can take just a gentle little roll from side to side. And then we're gonna roll all the way on off, press ourselves on up to a seat, and take this into a little deeper upper back rolling. So especially if you felt like it was very hard to achieve that neutral spine laying on the roller, this one is gonna be helpful. So you're gonna sit with the roller behind you, and the roller is going to go under your shoulder blades. And I always get questions about the roller slips out from underneath me when I try and do this one. Listen carefully here. So you're going to hold that roller with both of your hands, lean back. Now this is the most important step. I want you to think of pushing your rib cage into the roller. This is what keeps it from rolling out underneath you. Right now, my roller, I can elbow it. It is not going anywhere. I am pushing down into the roller, bending my knees and taking my head in my hands. Elbows are nice and narrow. So from here, now I have the roller firm. I'm gonna lift my hips up, still pushing my rib cage back, and roll to the base of my neck, down to just below my shoulder blades. So right here, we are intentionally rolling back and forth along the length of the rib cage and my thoracic spine, so my upper back. We are not rolling on the lower back, and there's a couple reasons why we avoid that here. One of which is that our lower back actually, even though it feels tight, the joints themselves tend to be more mobile than these joints in the upper back. So by loosening our upper back here, we're actually taking pressure off of the lower back. We also have a lot of bony protection from our rib cage to roll like this on our upper back. We don't have that same bony protection in our low back, so it can feel quite uncomfortable for some of the organs in the area, like our kidneys and even some of our digestive organs. We'll try a few more times just like this, rolling back and forth. And I want you guys to notice if there are any particular tight spots for your body. And if you find one of those tight spots, I want you to pause, place your hips down, make the space between your ribs and hips smaller as you drape your spine back over the roller behind you. You can then come back on up, go back to your rolling. Perhaps you find a different spot to place the hips down, and once again, drape and lean back. So just deepening that stretch. You may find that you're more comfortable just kind of sticking with this rolling back and forth, and that's totally fine here as well. So work within what feels good for your body, keeping the head heavy in the hands, the elbows narrow, tucked in by your side. That's it. Rolling back and forth, pushing through the feet and keeping the head long. Now I'm going to sit up to show you guys the added dimensions here of side bending and rotation. You guys keep rolling. We will add a tip sideways while rolling, as well as a rotation while rolling, and that helps us get a little deeper into the ribs and the area behind our shoulder blades. So we'll start with the side bending. As you're rolling back and forth, you can think of tipping your right elbow towards your right hip. That will open the left side body, and you can kind of feel if maybe that side, you expose a number of knots, or that side feels a bit tighter. Maybe it doesn't, and you want to try the left side. So you're going to tip your left elbow towards your left hip, to then open your right side rib cage. And if you feel like you need to spend a little more time on one than the other, that's okay. When we're doing this rolling work, you don't have to be symmetrical. You may find that one side needs more attention than the other. We can do the same thing here with rotation. So that's tipping one elbow up to the ceiling and one elbow down towards the floor, maintaining that gentle rotation to the side. Good, letting your right elbow tip down, your left elbow tip up. We'll do the same thing to the other side. This gets into your lat muscle, which is technically a shoulder muscle, but it goes all the way down towards your lower back. So tightness there can certainly influence lower back pain. And these ones can be quite tender. So if you need to take a break or you need to leave your hips down and just pause on that spot, go ahead and do so. I know mine are feeling quite sore today. So I'll spend just an extra moment or two doing these types of movements. Make sure that as you're rolling here, you're breathing, and your breath, there's no right pattern of breathing. Just make sure you are breathing. So holding your breath here can actually increase the tension in your muscles as opposed to decrease. Good. We'll spend just another moment or two here. You can go all the way up to the base of your neck, and then, like I said, down just below the shoulder blades. And then we'll take a gentle rest, coming on up to a seated position. That always feels so nice after we do that one. It's such a good release, especially if you spend most of your day sitting. We're going to reinforce that movement lying on our stomach before we get into some of the good muscular rolling. So if you flip on over, you're going to place that roller in front of you, lying down on your stomach and allowing your hands to rest on the roller. If you have any shoulder discomfort, you can keep your elbows bent. If not, you are going to press the roller straight out in front of you. Your head hangs between your shoulders and feet are a little wider than hip distance. Keeping the tops of the feet on the floor, push your hands down into the roller and then pull the roller closer to you and press and lower the roller out and away. Push the hands down, pull the roller closer to you, and then press and lower back down. Work within the range of motion that is comfortable for your body while keeping the shoulders dropping away from the ears and pulling the heart and chest forward, maintaining that downward pressure into the roller. Again, if you're working with bent elbows, same thing here, lifting up, pressing the tops of the feet into the floor. We'll do two more. And this one actually uses the lat muscles that we just rolled. One more time there. Good, and melt all the way back down. You can press yourself up into a child's pose and rest your hands on the roller for a deeper stretch. So in the child's pose, if you cannot sit your hips back like so, you can keep your hips high and let your chest drop down. And we'll hold and breathe here for another big breath in. And then a release out, coming on up, and we'll get into that glute foam rolling next. So our glutes play a huge role in supporting our spine when we bend over, when we squat, when we pick up heavy things. So we want to keep them loose so that they can fire really well. So the setup for this one is to sit on top of your roller. So I'll just bring mine behind me. And I'm going to sit on the roller in such a way that I could actually just kind of sit and balance. So if you know your sits bones, that bony part of your bottom, the sits bones are right in front of the roller. Now I'm going to roll my left side first. So I'll bring my left hand down and I'm going to turn my body. Let me move a little bit here so you guys can see, to the left. So right now I'm on the, I call it the meaty part of the glute, the biggest part of the butt muscle underneath. And you're just going to start to gently roll front to back. Now, when you're rolling the glutes, you want to roll on muscle, not on the bones in the area. And so we have a big bone right on the side of your hip. You can probably poke around and feel that. That's called your greater trochanter. That one is uncomfortable and we try not to roll over it. And the reason is we have a bursa there. Bursa are designed to protect against friction. They do not like friction from things like this. That will make the tissue more sensitive. Same goes for that sits bones, which is more at the bottom part of your pelvis. You can kind of align your chest more up to the ceiling to roll right through the center part of the glute, or you can turn a little bit more to the side to get the more lateral side part of your glute. If you would like to add more body weight, you can cross your right ankle on top of your left. You can also choose to just pause on a spot or kind of continue rolling front to back. And you will feel certain spots that are a little bit more tender than others. It may even be different from side to side. You might want to spend a little bit more time on those spots. And honestly, that can even vary from week to week. So if you've done this with me before, it may change a little bit from week to week. We're going to do the same thing going over to the left side. So go ahead and, the right side. You're going to place your right foot down, roll your body, placing your right hand on the floor, tipping gently towards the right. And same thing, we're watching out for that big bone on the side of the right hip. And you guys will know if you're rolling over that spot is very, very uncomfortable. And I know rolling in general is not comfortable, but this is kind of more of that sharp shooting, yucky kind of pain, as opposed to the feels a pain that kind of feels good. It is sort of what your rolling experience should be. If you would like to put a little more body weight on this side, you can also cross your left ankle on top of the right thigh bone. You can also turn and rotate your chest to face up towards the ceiling. So finding the spots on the right side that feel they need a little bit more attention. I know for me, I need a little more attention on the more lateral part of my right glute. You can check in with your shoulder, taking your shoulder away from the ear. If your wrist is sensitive in this position, walk your hand a little farther away from your body and think of pushing the floor away from you. And that should help you to have a little bit more solid support through your shoulder and less weight just in the wrist. We'll spend just another moment or two here. You're aiming for about 1 to 2 minutes each side. And again, that can vary depending which side needs more attention. And then we'll take a rest, this time sitting on the floor with the roller under the back of your thighs. So we just did the glutes. The next muscle group we'll tackle is our hamstrings on the back side of our thigh. Our hamstrings go from our knee joint up to our hips. So we want to roll the whole length of the muscle, but not on the joints themselves. So we're not rolling over the knee or the hip itself. I recommend doing this one on your hands, but if you cannot tolerate this hand position, you can lower onto your forearms. I recommend taking a wider stance with your hands, about as wide as your mat, fingertips pointing out to the side. From here, open your chest and collarbone so you find good shoulder alignment, and then lift your hips to roll to your knees all the way up to your hips. So our hamstrings are pretty long muscle here. You want to try and explore the full length of the muscle for the first couple repetitions. And then you might say, you know what, the top is not really tight, but I feel a lot of tightness down near the knee. Or vice versa. You might say this part feels fine, but I feel a lot of tension up closer to the hips. And you feel free to customize this and spend time where you need more attention. If your shoulders and wrists are getting tired, take a break, put your bottom down. You can readjust that roller and then set up for that continued rolling back and forth. Now, as you roll here, again, you can put more weight on one side by crossing now your ankle on top of the other. So we started doing both legs together. Now with my right ankle on top of my left, I'm getting just my left side. I can reverse that and do just my right side. So feel free to play around with that a little bit, explore what your body needs. You might find one side needs more attention than the other. The other variations you can play with here are a little gentle rotation. And so I like to create that by just turning the hips gently to one side and gently to the other. Our hamstrings are actually made up of 3 small muscles that lie right next to one another along the length of the thigh. And so you can get a different angle of those muscle fibers by just gently rotating from side to side. So these are nice ones to explore. I'm realizing now that we did not talk about the IT band, but this is a great place where you can get a little bit of relief around the lateral hip without rolling on the IT band. And I intentionally skipped this part of the IT band. And the reason is that research shows that this part of the IT band here is actually totally ligamentous. And foam rolling has no bearing or no ability to change the length of a ligament. It is fixed. We can change the length of muscles. So what we work on are the muscles that are attached to that ligament, which is the glute. So we just did that here. You can also get that more lateral part of your hamstring that runs quite close to the IT band as we roll in this position in and out. So we'll spend just another moment here. And then we're going to work our way down to the next muscle group on the back of our thighs, our calf muscles. So from here, you can take a seat. We're going to push that roller past our knees to underneath our calves. Now, I know at this point, our wrists are starting to get a little bit tired. So I'm going to offer 2 ways to do the rolling for your calves. The first one doesn't use your wrists at all. So you're just sitting up. You're going to bend your knees in towards your chest, push your knees away. Bend in and push away. So you're rolling along your calf muscle, which again now goes from your ankle to your knee, keeping your hips down. Now, this isn't a ton of body weight, so if you want to try and progress, your hands are going to go back to that same position we did for our hamstrings, lifting your hips up. We roll to the knees, and then we pull our hips back to roll down to our ankles. This also doubles as quite a bit of abdominal work to hold our hips up, quite a bit of shoulder work to hold our hips up. So feel free to take breaks. You can go back to that seated version at any time here if that's more comfortable, just like we did with the hamstring. If you want to cross one ankle on top of the other and do single leg, you can do that here. You can do the same thing on the opposite side and just explore. In our calf, we have just one broad muscle that runs along the length of the back of the calf, and then one that lies underneath it. So they're not side to side. However, both are broad muscles. And so you can still add a little tiny bit of rotation to feel sort of the inner versus outer fibers of the calf muscles. And like I said, they go all the way down to our ankles and all the way up to the back of our knees. We're not rolling over the knee joint or over the ankle, just between the two. You can come back to that seated version, or we'll try 3 more in this hip lifted version. Good, guys. Last 2. And one more time here, and you can take a quick rest. And I realized we didn't review why we're working the calf muscles. I know the calf is quite distant from our back. However, when we're walking, when we're running, our calf muscles are the first opportunity our body has to shock absorb impact and load. And excessive impact, excessive load over time can bother our spines. And so if we have nice, flexible, pliable, and strong calf muscles, they do the work of that shock absorption to minimize the stress that our back feels with those regular day-to-day activities. So the next thing we're going to do is the front of the leg. We just got the whole backside. Now we're going to work into the front. We'll do our quads first. So we'll flip around to bring the roller in front of us, and our thigh bones are going to roll. We'll go from our knees right up to the hip joint. So I like to do this one on the forearms, but you can do this on your hands if you're more comfortable. And you're going to rest your thigh bones onto the roller. So from here, we could be really saggy, or we can lift and actively hold a plank position. And I know my toes are right at the end of the frame, but your feet should be resting down to start. We're going to walk the feet and arms forward to roll to the top of the knees, and then backwards to roll to the top of the hips, or the bottom of the hips rather. If this is feeling easy, you can lift your feet up and just push and pull from your arms. The quad muscles are probably the most overused or overworked muscle in the body for a lot of people. We get quite lazy and weak through our glutes and our hamstrings because of the way that we sit for most of our day. And so the quad muscles tend to get a little bit overworked, overused. So if you're feeling like, wow, this is really tight, really sensitive, know that that's not abnormal. It does get better with a little bit of practice. But I also recommend building in some strength work and some training of your mechanics to better balance the use of the muscles in your legs. Keeping your neck long, shoulders down away from the ears. You can add that same rotation from side to side here. Like I said, the quad is made up of 4 muscles. So they go across the width of our thigh bone. You can feel the difference by rolling in or out. And just like I said with the hamstrings, that more lateral part of the quad can influence your IT band. So if you're someone who has tightness there, you may want to focus more on the outside part of the quad. Very nice. You can also stack one ankle on top of the other to bias more body weight to one side or the other if that feels better for your body. Keep lifting your ribs up away from the floor. And we'll do just another moment here. And then gently push back. And you can take another one of those child's pose. If you want to put your hands on the roller, you can take that here. This one always feels nice after all that quad stretching as well. And you can gently roll and come sit on up. Now, I know we didn't get to the shin muscles today. We've done that in past weeks. So feel free to peek back on those if you are looking for that last little piece. But we are getting close to the end of our time. So we will conclude that as our movement-based part of